Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Promoted channel. I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Today, I want to talk about one of my favorite topics. We are going to talk about decision making and the pros and cons of having something to look forward to, something to be running away from, how you can prioritize your life, and just some different ways to hopefully try to change your perception around this, but also encourage you to practice the muscle of decision making, because that's really what it is. Is it something that requires experience, is a skill that needs to be developed, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So first things first, let's talk about prioritization systems. And the key one that I like to go to that I'm going to address today is going to be the Eisenhower Matrix. So if you guys are not familiar with this, there's two key terms we need to define and operationalize here before we get started. And that is going to be urgency and importance. So urgency are going to be things that require immediate attention, immediate action, but their overall level of impact could range from being very, very impactful to very low impact. But the overall thing is that it needs immediate attention. Then on the flip side of things, you have things that are important. And these are things that may not necessarily require immediate attention, might have sort of a stacked up order of operations, but they are going to have large impact. They're going to have a very big scope of impact. And so two different kind of examples on each of these. If you were to look at something that is urgent, could simply be a text message or a phone call or a Teams or Slack message, these sorts of things that might require immediate attention, but in the grand scheme, typically aren't going to have a huge impact either on your work productivity or your profitability or whatever your current kind of goals are that you are working on in life. Whatever that forward momentum is, urgency is going to be things that have immediate attention and immediate action, but may not necessarily have great importance. Now, if we're talking about something that is important, let's say that in your professional career, you were told that you need to develop a skill or learn a different technology or whatever it might be. Let's pick something like learning a project management platform, something like a Monday.com or Asana or these kind of different platforms that are out there. That could be something that's going to be important. It's going to take time. It also should have some relative like immediate action, but if you get this done in the next 6 months or before your next annual review, then that can help contribute to, a promotion or progression or a raise or whatever it might be. So these are things that might have a big impact that are important, but don't necessarily require immediate action, especially depending on the overall time investment it'll take to accomplish. So this is key for understanding the Eisenhower Matrix. So what this is it's going to be a way for you to prioritize your life. Most of us have a to-do list significantly longer than we could accomplish, especially in a day or even a week or a month or 6 months or a year, depending on how far you've stretched out your overall kind of time horizon and extension of your life. That's going to determine how many things you have on your to-do list. And your Eisenhower Matrix will allow you to figure out what to prioritize and what your key rocks are at any given day. So going back to the GOAT dissolution effect video that I did, where narrowing your scope allows you for larger accomplishment and larger gains in those areas, Eisenhower Matrix is going to be able to tell you what your kind of 2, 3, 4, 5 things are on any given day that you need to make forward progress on. So essentially, if you have a square split into 4 quadrants, your top left quadrant, which is going to be generally your most important, is going to be a combination of both urgent and important tasks. So things that are going to be of high impact and require immediate attention. And so this can be a variety of things depending on what you're looking at in your life. But it is kind of up to you to figure out what determines where things should go within this. But it's just understanding the definitions of urgent and important. So again, if we use the skill development example, let's stick with that of learning project management and specifically technology platform. If this is something that's going to be a requirement for you to move up and be promoted at the end of the year and go for that raise and really meet those qualifications. So you have 12 months or less. Realistically, we want to go with less so you have more time for familiarity to both learn a methodology and a technology in and of itself. So this could be something that qualifies as both urgent and important. And that way you have as much hands-on experience and repetition with the given tool and with the given methodologies for you to employ them as well. So by learning the frameworks and learning the things, you can implement them sooner and begin actually using them in real-world example, because as we all know, book knowledge only goes so far. So you're going to have a stack of things that are both urgent if you can do them immediately and of high importance. So this is going to be your key column. You should be working on something in this quadrant any given day, if not 2 or more things. Next quadrant over, which is going to be the next priority scenario, is going to be not urgent, but important. So again, going back to our definitions here, may not necessarily be the immediate attention things, but are going to have a large impact or a large scope of impact in the overall result of your goals, aspirations, and career things that you're looking for. We can use the same skill development scenario. Maybe you say, hey, I've been told by my company, my corporation, or just the career shift that I want to make, I need to learn this project management platform immediately. Followed behind that, though, it's going to behoove me to maybe learn some leadership skills. So I'm going to maybe I'm just going to throw out some different trainings and things that I've attended. Maybe Extreme Ownership Academy or Entre Leadership, or you're just going to read a couple different books that are out there to maybe help you out with your overall leadership and team dynamics and team building and those sorts of things. So, okay, so I'm going to learn project management now. In the backlog here, let's go put the skill development of leadership. So then once you essentially execute the urgent, important project management, then your next thing to pull into the queue is going to be leadership. And so now that becomes your urgent and important. And so things are definitely allowed to shift, but this is what's going to tell you how to prioritize and when to prioritize accordingly. Now, on the flip side, maybe it's not a skill development, but maybe it's simply following up with your clients or following up on customer success. Or if you're in finance, you have to do your payroll and things on a monthly basis. So you could have that as something that's going to be highly important, but may not be urgent because it's not the end of the month. You don't have to do that processing yet. And so you have that reminder to shift that in. Bottom left quadrant, which is your third most important. So these are going to be things that aren't urgent, so they require immediate attention, but may not necessarily be important. So this should be a queue that is cycling pretty quickly, because if something is classified as urgent, it really should be a same day, next day type of activity. So this should be a very, very revolving type of queue where your first two might kind of have the same items or similar items or sub items of kind of apparent activity for an extended period of time of months or even years, depending on what the overarching goal and vision and acquisition of either knowledge, skills, money, goals, aspirations, family, whatever it might be. They could definitely be there for a long time. The urgent queue, though, should be cycling. These are urgent but not important. And so these things should be being worked on daily, effectively, in some capacity. And these are great filler activities. You need a break from the big tasks, get your brain away. And this could be things like checking email, responding to teams' messages, texting people back, whatever it might be. It can be those sorts of things. Just give you that little breakup, come back and hit it hard on the big macro activity that you're looking to do. So that's what the urgent activity is. Now, the fourth one is neither urgent nor important. So this can either be that because it just flat out isn't either of those things. It doesn't need immediate attention and it's not a huge scope of impact. Or what I actually do is I don't necessarily use this fourth quadrant as that. The fourth quadrant for me is simply a stack up of backlog. So I have the ideas of things that I need to do either for my business or for my career development or my professional development, or even for, the team and the company, whatever it might be. And this is the backlog. And so it also allows me to review that on a regular cadence to be able to go, so you know what? Should I switch this to something coming into urgent and important, or should I switch this? So it allows me to kind of move those things on a regular basis by just treating it as a pure backlog of all of the ideas and things that I have. And so this is also where content ideas, it could truly be anything that's not necessarily classified as either urgent or important. So this will allow you to really look at the beginning of any given day or any given week or any given month and kind of say, hey, what are my goals for X period of time? However you best prioritize your time, whether it's on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly, quarterly, however it might go. Eisenhower Matrix is a really powerful system, and what I really use on a regular basis, on a daily basis, to be able to look at my day and go, all right, what do I need to accomplish there? Or this week, what do I need to accomplish? What are the big picture, big bucket items that I need to do? What am I sprinkling in that's urgent? And I review my backlog every few weeks to a month or so. Honestly, I don't really have a formal cycle for that. So the next thing to look at here is going to be both a desire and something to run away from. So a desire and a fear. So what they have found from a human psychology standpoint is that we need both of these things. This was initially tested in rats. If you guys have not seen this experiment or heard of this experiment, I've heard of it from Jordan Peterson and also Chris Williamson, two people that I think are phenomenal sources of material. So what these experiments entail is testing both something to run to, so a vision, and also something to run away from. And where this comes into human psychology is ask yourself where it is that you want to go, but also what you refuse to be like. What are your biggest fears, your biggest destinations that if you ended up there, you would consider your life and your efforts a failure? So you want to outline both of these things. Writing them down is ideal. For most people, you're going to find some people who don't get a lot of benefit from writing, maybe simply talking about these things, or actually having reminders throughout the day of those things, whatever it might be. And whatever keeps it in your brain allows you to reference both of them on a regular basis. That's going to be the key aspect here. So what they tested in the rats is they starved the rats and then wafted in the smell of cheese to them. They were connected to a spring to see how hard they pull. The pulling force was a proxy for really their desire and for really how much effort they were willing to put in. So they're starving, they waft in cheese, they pull pretty dang hard. Okay. Then what they do is they stop the smell of cheese. They at a later time, they then also will waft in the smell of a cat from behind. So now a predator, something to be fearful of, something that, again, if you ended up there, if that was your destination, it is going to be significantly regrettable. They pulled even harder than the cheese. Now, the final part of the experiment was actually doing both simultaneously. So if they wafted in the smell of a cat and wafted in the smell of the cheese, then in this force or in this scenario, this is when the rats significantly put in more effort. So what this means is that you need to have both. So maybe over here in the fear column, I refuse to be homeless. I refuse to be in debt, unless it's maybe healthy debt, things like that. I also don't want to end up single or, I don't want to end up without kids, whatever it might be. Line those things out. Now you know that the direction you need to go is away from those things. The flip side, where do you want to go? Hey, I'm currently an individual contributor. I want to break into management. I want to get into a 6-figure salary. I want to go back to school and I want to get my bachelor's and my PhD or whatever it might be. Whatever the vision is over here, if you're an entrepreneur, it could be a variety of things as well. Having both of these things lined up is what's going to give you that vision and really give you the force. And so whenever you are kind of in those moods, or maybe you don't want to put in the effort or you're questioning why you're doing things, then you can reference both of these materials and go, oh yeah, I don't want to be that. I don't want to end up there. And I do want to go there. That is what I'm fighting for every single day. And so having both of these forces, both a push and a pull, are what's going to give you the maximum momentum in the direction that you want to go. And so keeping this in mind is going to be the other thing that I would like to convey and really instill. The last component of this is flipping the decision-making framework, and it's actually kind of, again, focusing on that cat piece. So again, even while combined, having something to push and something to pull is the maximum amount of momentum. If you had to only pick one, let's say you don't know where you want to go, but you do know what you don't want to be. Most people have that. Almost a reverse role model is another common term I've had. Again, I don't want to end up where X person was, or I don't want to end up divorced, or I don't want to end up single, or I don't want to end up poor, or I don't want to end up homeless. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm not here to tell you what your anti-vision is, but whatever that is, at least outlining that, because almost everybody can tell themselves what they don't want to be. And that is the stronger of the two forces individually. So being able to flip your decision-making framework or your vision creation framework on its head, and instead of going, where do I want to go? But instead going, where do I not want to go? And on the flip side, the other kind of way to think about this is every decision you make has an opportunity cost. It's baked in. Because you did this, you can't do this. You can't split test life. You can only make one decision at a time. You can only test one hypothesis at a time. You can only be in one place at a given time. So being able to say, which regret can I live with the best? So let's say you are debating between watching Netflix or working out. You're like, hey, I don't know which one to do. I kind of have these two opportunities in front of me. Which one am I going to pick? Okay, well, instead of going, the Netflix is great. It allows me to relax. It gives me my brain recovery. It allows me to just calm down, remove some emotionality, etc. Working out, but I get to put on muscle. I get to also get some endorphins. So I get good positive psychology. I get good benefits. Instead of focusing on that, because there's always almost an endless list of pros, focus on the cons. Which regrets can you live with the most? Which one is okay for the regret to happen? Will you regret not working out today more, or will you regret not watching Netflix more? This can be a very different way. Which one really makes your heart sink or puts that pit in your stomach when you go, ooh, if I don't do it, what is the cost of that? That's also a different way to look at the framework as opposed to just what you're going to, because that will be a stronger motivator than just this nebulous vision out there, especially when you are having tasks and goals and things that don't just happen overnight. But when we are talking about those important tasks, right? Again, going back to the definitions of earlier in this conversation, that are going to take weeks, months, years, etc., having that push effect, something from behind to propel you forward, is going to be stronger and everlasting. You might lose sight of the vision. The vision might even change, those sorts of things, right? So that can be something that shifts, but I guarantee you your fears, what you refuse to end up, the things that you don't ever want to be, those will be everlasting. That list will stay static and only grow. But where you're looking to go in the vision might change. So now let's really create a holistic picture here, combining all three of these things. When you have different opportunities in front of you, when you're looking at your Eisenhower Matrix and your to-do list, you got 50 things over here in your to-do list. How do you prioritize? You can use the decision-making frameworks. Which of these things are going to prevent me from ending up where I don't want to end up? And also, what is their overall contribution when it comes to where I'm looking to go? This is how you can then prioritize the importance versus urgent in this capacity, is by looking at both the desire and the fear. Where do you want to go to? Where do you want to run away from? And this will help you to take that to-do list, plug it into your Eisenhower Matrix. Then when you take the Eisenhower Matrix, now you look at that on any given day and you know exactly where to put your efforts. You know exactly where to apply your time, effort, energy, and your most valuable resources in order to get to where you're looking to go. So I hope that all of this helps you out when it comes to prioritizing and making decisions and knowing how to get to where you want to go, or at least avoid where you don't want to go. Please comment below. Please subscribe to the channel if you like this video, and I look forward to next time. Thanks.